Hello everyone. Today we are going to review the movie Eurovision Song Contest. Sorry, hold on here. The Story of Fire Saga. So this movie is starring. It is a comedy movie, I would say, with also a little bit of I don't know how else to describe it, but like seriousness to it. It had like a actual like story background to it, which was kind of weird. But I guess this is like a legitimate actual contest because I did do some digging in it and watch some like behind the scenes stuff. And I guess there was a band that actually won this contest one year because one of the scenes is girls singing with a band that's dressed up. And I thought at first it was actually a band that I listened to, Guar. But it actually turns out that it's another band I listened to called Lordy. And apparently they actually won this Eurovision contest one year with their performance. So yeah, I'm gonna have to actually go and watch that because that's very interesting to find that out. That this is actually a real legitimate contest that actually does go on because I didn't know that. Because I think we have so many like American shows that do this kind of thing, like The Voice. Well, I guess The Voice is Canadian. Is it now though? Is it really now though? Obviously, American Idol. We have America's Got Talent, like shows like that that have been around for a long, long time. That I guess kind of have the singing acts in them, so it would be similar to this, I suppose. I think they actually compared it to The Voice at one point, and Will Ferrell's character Lars Eriksson said, "No, it's not like The Voice." So. So we start out actually with Lars's dad, who was played by Pierce Brosnan, who is I grew up with as a child because I remember seeing him a long, long time ago in the James Bond movies, and I think besides, oh God, I can't think of his name now, but he's got to be my I want to say like third favorite James Bond because who was the other James Bond that I really, really liked? I'm trying to think now. Anyway, I did like Sean Connery, but there was another James Bond that I liked a little bit more than Sean Connery. I think Daniel Craig's probably my favorite, but we're getting off topic here, aren't we? But hey, anyway, I guess I can ramble a little bit because I'm kind of having a nostalgic moment. But so the main cast was Will Ferrell, Rachel McAdams, Dan Stevens, and Pierce Brosnan. So Will Ferrell played Lars Eriksson, as I said. Rachel McAdams played Sigrid Eric Doter. Dan Stevens played Alexander Lemnov. And Pierce Brosnan played Eric Eriksson. So they actually start off in this little town in Iceland called Húsavík. And that's where they start. So it actually shows Lars as a kid, Lars and Sigrid as kids. Now, I don't know, it's kind of confusing. Some of the humor in this was kind of somewhat overdone. Now, I did enjoy the film actually a little bit more the second time watching it through than I did the first time, and I think that's because I just wasn't so busy with doing other things around me, like editing and stuff with other videos, that I was actually able to kind of pay attention and give this film a little bit more of a justification, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for. So we start them off as kids, and I guess the Eurovision Song Contest is going on, and Sweden comes up, and it's this band who you may or may not know, depending on your age, ABBA, who I didn't know was from Sweden, but they must be because it says that Sweden was up and they were singing their song. So I actually didn't know that any of ABBA's songs were in Swedish, but I guess they are because at least in this film they said they were from Sweden. Now don't quote me on that 100% because I don't know for sure if that's true or not, but there was definitely another language in their songs, I would say, and I'm not sure what the actual... Is it just Swedish? like, do Swedes just speak Swedish? Is that the actual language? Am I saying, is that correct? I don't actually know. Because I think Icelandic is a language too. But I don't know, it might be like Gaelic or something, kind of like same with Scotland. I'm not really sure. Uh, if anybody does more research than me, feel free to comment down below on that. But anyhow, where was I going with this? So they're showing them as kids, and Lars has just lost his mother, I guess. So she's passed away. So this movie kind of starts off sad, I guess, in a way, and then Lars goes in front of the TV while Abba's playing, and he starts dancing, and then Sigrid starts dancing, and his father wants him to stop because he thinks it's silly. So he thinks it's kind of embarrassing, I guess, in a way. So he's trying to tell Lars to stop, but Lars just turns around to all his friends and says, "Stop laughing at me. One day I will win the Eurovision Song Contest, and you won't be laughing anymore." So then it goes to them as adults, and I don't know. I'm thinking this must have actually been filmed somewhere in Iceland, because the scenery is just absolutely beautiful. So I would actually love to go visit Iceland someday. I think that would be really cool. Just because it looks like a very, very nice place. Now I know it's a lot colder climate there because I believe it's much farther north, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've looked at a map, so but I believe Iceland is up north, like really far north. Not a very big population up there, and it looked like there were a lot of glaciers up there as well, wherever they were filming. So they were probably in much colder climates, because it looked like a lot of them were in coats or sweaters, very heavy material to be filming in. So it looked like it was cold where they were filming anyway. Now, is Iceland near Scotland? Because they did travel to another part of Iceland for the first trials of the competition. And then when they actually made it to the Eurovision part of it, they traveled to Scotland. Now, I'm not sure what town in Scotland or what part of Scotland, but it was somewhere in Scotland that they actually traveled. So it was kind of cool to see that. Them going all over the map around, I believe, is it Europe? Because my sister did live over there for a little while, but she did come back just because things didn't work out, unfortunately. But I would love to actually go over there sometime and just see all the scenery and take it all in, because it seems like a very unique and interesting place just to visit and kind of take the culture in. I think that would be very cool. And I do have a little bit of Scottish in me, so I would love to actually go visit there someday, whenever I have the money. Right now it's kind of tight, but later on down the road, I mean, I'm still young, so I have lots of time to think about that. Yeah, I'm kind of getting nostalgic here, aren't I? A little bit, kind of wanting to go overseas just to see everything. Through Europe, and I think it would be cool. I think it would be a cool travel destination for sure. If you've ever been there, let me know in the comments down below, because I think that would be really interesting. But anyway, back to the movie. So they go to Scotland for the, I guess, kind of like auditions for the semi-finals. And unfortunately, it seems like they've blown it completely. But so Lars ends up leaving due to the fact of this Alexander So Lemnov kind of gets in the way. Alexander Lemnov gets in the way between him and Sigrid, between Lars and Sigrid. And it is kind of unfortunate, because you can see that Sigrid and Lars do love each other. I would say it's kind of almost more one-sided for Sigrid, because she kind of fell for Lars, I guess, when they were really young, because he taught her how to speak through singing, and now she has a really beautiful voice, which Lemnov actually touches on throughout the movie. So he cared but I think he cared in kind of a very weird way. It was almost, I think he did love her, but he thought he could provide more for her than what Lars could, and I think he was kind of basing part of his connection with Sigrid off of that. So it was a very weird way to go about it. But he actually ends up falling in love, I think, with one of the other singers, which was the one from Greece. Demi Lovato was also in this movie as well, and Graham Norton. And if you know who Graham Norton is, he's actually a talk show host. I believe he's British. I could be wrong, because he did show the. Actually, he's Irish, isn't he? Yeah, because they did show the flags. I believe he's actually Irish. And Demi Lovato was obviously American, but I think she was singing for Iceland as well. But unfortunately, the boat blows up that had all the singers on it, and it turns out that one of the guys who was actually with Iceland wanted them to not make it through the competition, so he blows up the boat, and his name was actually Victor Carlson, played by Mikkel Persbrandt, I'm going to say is his name. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So he actually tries to kill Lars at one point in the film, but fails. And that's because Sigrid is constantly talking about these fairies that are alive, and they actually open the door and throw a knife at Victor and kill him. So Lars got lucky. But where was I? Where was I just before I said all that? Right, I was talking about Lemnov and Sigrid. So he ends up falling in love with, I believe it was actually Mita, yeah, played by Milisanti Mahat, played Mita Exenis. I believe, yeah, that was her for sure. And I think that's kind of who Lemnov ends up falling in love with. So it was kind of interesting because he seems to be... He kind of reminds me of the one guy from Game of Thrones that says, like, I don't associate myself with one sex. I just kind of do whatever I feel is right in the time. I don't know exactly how he worded it, but he just loves people. And that's kind of what Lemnov reminded me of. He wasn't really into just one type of person. He just kind of was into everybody. And I think that's kind of the point they were trying to make, because they talked about... she actually asks him, Sigrid actually asks him at one point, are you gay? And he says, no, there's no gays in Russia. So it was kind of like a stereotypical thing too, I found in certain parts of it, which was kind of funny. And she asks him a whole bunch of other questions, like the non-binary question, and he says no, him, he is his pronoun. So he's trying to definitely sell it to her that he is into her and just her. But obviously, Sigrid and Lars are definitely the ones that are in love, and they end up being together by the end of the movie, and they have a baby, because it just says, and sometime later at the end of the movie. So that was kind of interesting. Now, I think that's pretty much covering the whole story. Now, we don't actually know if they won the Eurovision contest. I'm not really sure who wins, because unfortunately, it sounds like they got disqualified due to the fact that they picked a different song near the end, because Lars gets her to sing her song that she's been writing throughout the entire movie. And it was very interesting to see the voice behind that. Now, I can't remember the woman's name that actually sang the real song. And I don't actually know if Rachel McAdams was singing, or whether... Did I say Jennifer Garner earlier? I hope not, because it's not Jennifer Garner, it's Rachel McAdams. Jesus. So I don't know if they were actually singing. I will say probably Will Ferrell was singing because I don't see any backup singers for him in anything that I found on YouTube, but I did find a backup singer for Rachel McAdams, so who knows? But maybe she did actually sing it. Now I know Will Ferrell has a lot of background in music, which I found shocking. I've actually watched stuff on the channel Watch Mojo for him, and it's very interesting to find out like how much of a musical background he actually has. Uh, so yeah, I can believe that he probably actually did sing for most of this movie in real life. Um, and he's actually a pretty good singer. Uh, if it was actually him singing in this movie for real. Uh, I wouldn't say he hits every note, but I mean for what he is doing in this movie, I would say he was pretty spot on for the most part. The only downfall I would say, I guess maybe it was just because I was watching it through and not really paying attention. I thought he kind of lost the accent in one scene, and I suppose he does for like a couple words, but I thought he really lost it the first time I was watching it through. But it turns out he actually did a pretty good job of keeping the, I guess, Icelandic accent. Um, and I will say, though, I don't want to say that. See, the first time I watched it through, I was going to say that Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams had absolutely no chemistry together. They did have chemistry together. It just was kind of like a very weird chemistry. I would say throughout this film, honestly, Dan Stevens and Rachel McAdams had really good chemistry together. They worked well in every scene. And honestly, kind of find this funny. But Will Ferrell and Pierce Brosnan had an amazing chemistry together. I don't know what it was, but just I feel like the two of them on screen just kind of fed off of each other's energies. That's just how I felt. And this film was kind of one of those films where you needed to kind of feed off of that, especially in the musical parts, right? But you could really feel, like, even when they weren't in the same room together, I would say, in these movies, you could kind of feel the connection between them. And it kind of tugged at your heartstrings a little bit, because they really did feel like Pierce Brosnan and Will Ferrell could actually be related in this movie, even though they're obviously not. But yeah, it felt real. It felt like a really strong connection between the two of them. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that as to who I felt was really connected in this film. Not saying that Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams had absolutely no chemistry, because obviously they had to have some in order to perform the way that they did in this type of movie. But yeah, I think I would have given it a lot lower rating if I'd done this review on the first watch through. But I think I have to give it about I think I'm going to give it about a 6.5 out of 10. It still wasn't my favorite movie. I don't know if I would ever go back and watch this again. And I feel like some of the jokes were kind of overdone. But, I mean, I'm a real big fan of Will Ferrell. I just don't feel like this was his best performance of all time. I'm not saying it definitely was. Now, I've seen a lot of Will Ferrell movies, so I can't say it was his worst. But it just wasn't his best. I don't really know what could have made this movie possibly better. Maybe just trying, I don't know. Some of the jokes just seem to be overdone. So I would say maybe that was one of the things that they could have worked on a little bit. The making fun of Americans I thought was really good. And I don't think I can really touch much more in this film. I think I've pretty much explained everything that I can and talked about everything that I can, criticized everything that I can. I think I've done it. I think I've done it for this film. And I've given my rating. So, as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film if you've seen it. If not, I mean, still go watch it. It does have laughs throughout it, so it is still a good film, and it's actually one you could probably watch with your family because it is a musical in parts. And I will say that the scenes with the where they were actually doing like musical ballads, the music was mixed really well, and it was really interesting and cool to see those scenes done, because I'm not really sure like how many, besides Demi Lovato, how many singers they actually threw into this movie, because it was European, like the European song battles. So I can't really say how many musical artists were actually in this movie, but I'm assuming quite a few, because during that scene they threw in people that I did not recognize at all. So I'm going to say that there were quite a few people that are probably from European countries that were in this movie that were actually singing, and I just don't know of them, or haven't heard of them, or haven't seen them before. So I give them kudos for that as well, because it definitely, this movie opens up for them to become more popular, right? And I think that was a very cool thing for, I would say probably this movie was definitely Will Ferrell based. So I would say that's a really cool thing for Will Ferrell to do, to bring all these younger people on and give them the spotlight. But other than that, that's it. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.